March 1975. Manhattan Criminal Court. New York City. Al Pacino sits in the back of a courtroom. Sunglasses on. Hat pulled low. Trying to be invisible, people are staring. Whispering. Pointing. Because everyone knows who he is now. The Godfather came out 3 years ago. Made him a superstar. And then Godfather Part 2 just won Best Picture 2 months ago at the Oscars. Al Pacino is one of the most famous actors in the world. And he's sitting in criminal court. This is not where he wanted to be today. Let's back up. How did Al Pacino end up here? 6 months earlier. September 1974. Late night in Manhattan. Al Pacino is driving home from a restaurant. He's exhausted. Just finished filming Dog Day Afternoon. 12-hour shoot days. Emotional scenes. Draining work. He's at a red light. Waiting. The light turns green. He starts to go. Suddenly, screch. A car runs the red light. Nearly hits him. Al Pacino swerves. Hard. Avoids the collision. But in swerving, he clips a parked car. Minor damage. Just a scraped bumper. But then he hears it. Sirens. Red and blue lights. The police. An officer walks up to his window. Shines a flashlight in his face. License and registration. Al Pacino hands them over. The officer looks at the license. Does a double take. Al Pacino? The Al Pacino? Yeah, Al says quietly. Just wanting to go home. Michael Corleone. Holy, the officer's excited. Starstruck. Man, I loved The Godfather. That restaurant scene. When you shot those guys? Incredible. Al Pacino forces a smile. Thanks. Listen, officer, I know I hit that parked car, but another car ran the red light and... Step out of the vehicle, please. Al Pacino's stomach drops. This isn't good. The officer makes him do a sobriety test. Walk the line. Touch your nose. Breathalyzer. Al Pacino passes everything. He's completely sober. Just tired. But then the officer notices something. Al Pacino's eyes are red. Bloodshot. Have you been using any substances tonight, Mr. Pacino? What? No. I've been filming all day. I'm just exhausted. The officer doesn't believe him. Or maybe he does, but he's got a quota to meet. Either way, he writes a ticket. Reckless driving. Leaving the scene of an accident, even though Al Pacino was going to report it. And suspicion of driving under the influence. You'll need to appear in court, the officer says. Dates on the ticket. Al Pacino looks at the ticket. March 1975. 6 months away. Great. Just great, flash forward. March 1975. The court date arrives. Al Pacino's lawyer tells him, don't worry. It's minor. We'll plead it down. Pay a fine. No big deal. But Al Pacino is worried. Because he's Al Pacino now. Everything he does is news. If the press finds out he's in criminal court? Headlines everywhere. Al Pacino arrested. Michael Corleone in legal trouble. His publicist already warned him, keep a low profile. Don't let anyone recognize you. So Al Pacino wears the sunglasses. The hat. Sits in the back. Tries to blend in. But it's impossible. Because he's Al Pacino. One of the most recognizable faces on the planet. People keep turning around. Staring. A few people even approach him. Excuse me, are you? No, Al Pacino interrupts. Wrong guy. They don't believe him. But they leave him alone. For now, the courtroom is packed. Dozens of cases. Petty crimes. Traffic violations. Drug possession. DUIs. The usual Manhattan criminal court chaos. Al Pacino sits there for 2 hours. Waiting for his case to be called. Watching other people go before the judge. The judge is older. Late 50s. Stern face. No-nonsense demeanor. He's tough. Really tough. Throwing the book at people. No mercy. Al Pacino watches him deny plea deals. Give harsh sentences. Lecture defendants about responsibility. His stomach is in knots. This judge is not going to be sympathetic. Finally, the clerk calls out. Case number 74 to 9283. People vs. Alfredo Pacino. Al Pacino stands up. His lawyer nudges him. Remember. Be respectful. Yes, Your Honor. No, Your Honor. Let me do the talking. They walk to the front. Stand before the judge. The judge is reading the file. Not looking up. Just reading. Reckless driving. Leaving the scene of an accident. Suspicion of DUI. The judge finally looks up. And freezes. Because he's looking at Al Pacino. The courtroom goes silent. Everyone's watching. Waiting to see what happens. The judge stares. For a long moment. Just stares. Then he speaks. For words that make Al Pacino's blood run cold. I saw The Godfather. The courtroom erupts in whispers. People lean forward. This is about to get interesting. Al Pacino doesn't know what to say. Doesn't know what this means. Is the judge a fan? Or is he about to make an example out of a celebrity? His lawyer jumps in quickly. Your Honor, my client is here to address these charges, which we believe are. The judge holds up his hand. I'm speaking to Mr. Pacino. Not you. The lawyer goes silent. The judge looks directly at Al Pacino. Eye contact. Intense. I saw The Godfather, he repeats. Twice, actually. Once when it came out. And again last month. You know what I thought? Al Pacino swallows hard. No, Your Honor. I thought it was the greatest film I've ever seen. Your performance? Transformative. The way you went from war hero to cold-blooded killer. I've seen a lot of transformations in my courtroom, Mr. Pacino. But yours was the most believable. Is this good? Is this bad? Al Pacino can't tell. The judge continues. And then I saw Godfather Part 2. Even better. That scene in Cuba? When you realize Fredo betrayed you? The pain in your eyes? That was real. That was acting at the highest level. The courtroom is dead silent. Everyone's hanging on every word. Thank you, Your Honor, Al Pacino says quietly. Not sure what else to say. The judge looks down at the file again. Reads it carefully. Then looks back up. It says here you were driving recklessly. Hit a parked car. And the officer suspected you were intoxicated. Your Honor, if I may, his lawyer tries again. I said I'm talking to Mr. Pacino. The judge's voice is firm. He looks at Al Pacino. Were you drunk that night? No, Your Honor. I was completely sober. I'd been filming all day. I was just tired. Another car ran a red light and I swerved to avoid it. That's how I hit the parked car. Did the officer test you? Yes, Your Honor. Breathalyzer. I passed. Zero alcohol in my system. The judge nods. Writes something down. Then looks back up. Mr. Pacino, do you think you're above the law because you're famous? The question hits like a punch. The whole courtroom leans in. Al Pacino doesn't hesitate. No, Your Honor. Absolutely not. Do you think your fame should get you special treatment? No, Your Honor. Do you think because you played Michael Corleone, you can act like Michael Corleone in real life? Breaking rules? Getting away with things? This is it. This is where the judge tears him apart. Makes an example of him. Shows everyone that celebrities aren't above the law. No, Your Honor, Al Pacino says firmly. I don't think that at all. What happened that night was an accident. I'm not asking for special treatment. I'm just asking for fairness. The judge stares at him. Long, hard stare. Evaluating. Judging. The entire courtroom holds its breath. Then the judge does something that shocks everyone. He smiles. Not a big smile. Just a small one. But it's there. Mr. Pacino, I've been a judge for 23 years. And in those 23 years, I've seen thousands of defendants stand where you're standing right now. And you know what most of them do? No, Your Honor. They lie. They make excuses. They blame everyone else. They show no accountability. No responsibility. No respect for the court. He pauses. Lets that sink in. But you? You didn't do any of that. You answered my questions honestly. You didn't name drop. You didn't ask for special treatment. You didn't act entitled. You just told the truth. Al Pacino doesn't know where this is going. But it feels different. The judge looks down at the file one more time. Then back at Al Pacino. The officer's report says you passed the sobriety test. Says you were cooperative. Says there was another vehicle that ran the red light but left the scene before he could get the plates. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor. The judge nods. Then he does something absolutely unbelievable. He picks up his gavel. And he speaks words that shock the entire courtroom. Case dismissed. Bang. The gavel comes down. The courtroom explodes. Gasps. Whispers. People can't believe it. Al Pacino's lawyer is stunned. Your Honor, did you say? I said case dismissed, the judge repeats firmly. The evidence shows Mr. Pacino was sober. The accident was caused by another vehicle fleeing the scene. Mr. Pacino acted responsibly by remaining at the scene despite the other driver's hit and run. There's no basis for these charges. He looks at Al Pacino one more time. Mr. Pacino, you're free to go. Drive safely. And keep making great films. The world needs more Godfathers and fewer criminals. Al Pacino just stands there. Speechless. Did that really just happen? His lawyer grabs his arm. Let's go. Before he changes his mind. They turn to leave. But as Al Pacino walks past the judge's bench, the judge speaks again. Quieter this time. Just loud enough for Al Pacino to hear. 30 seconds, Mr. Pacino. Al Pacino stops. Turns back. I'm sorry, Your Honor. The judge smiles again. 30 seconds. That's how long it took me to decide to dismiss your case. From the moment you answered my questions honestly. That's all it takes. 30 seconds of truth. Most people can't even give me that. Al Pacino nods. Understanding. Thank you, Your Honor. No. Thank you. For reminding me that not everyone who walks into my courtroom is a criminal. And 30 seconds that changed everything. But what happened after Al Pacino left that courtroom? How did this story leak to the press? And what did the judge say years later when asked about that day? Al Pacino walks out of the courtroom. His lawyer beside him. Both of them in complete shock. They get to the hallway. Away from the crowd. Away from the eyes. And Al Pacino finally exhales. A breath he didn't know he was holding. What just happened? He asks his lawyer. His lawyer shakes his head. Bewildered. I have no idea. I've been practicing law for 15 years. I've appeared before Judge Harrison dozens of times. He never dismisses cases like that. Never. He's known as the toughest judge in Manhattan criminal court. And he just let you walk. Because I told the truth? Maybe. Or maybe because you're Al Pacino and he loved The Godfather. Al Pacino frowns. That doesn't feel right. He specifically asked if I thought I deserved special treatment because I'm famous. He was testing me. And you passed the test. They walk toward the exit. But before they reach the doors, someone calls out. Mr. Pacino. Wait. Al Pacino turns. It's a court reporter. Young woman. Early 20s. Notebook in hand. Press credentials around her neck. His lawyer steps between them. No comment. My client has nothing to say. But the reporter persists. I was in the courtroom. I saw what happened. That was incredible. Judge Harrison never does that. This is a story people need to hear. No, Al Pacino says firmly. No story. No press. This was a private matter and it's been resolved. That's it. The reporter looks disappointed but nods. I understand. But Mr. Pacino? What the judge said to you? About 30 seconds of truth? That was beautiful. I hope you remember that. Al Pacino softens slightly. I will. Thank you. They leave. Out into the Manhattan afternoon. March sunlight. Cold but bright. Al Pacino puts his sunglasses back on. Pulls his hat low. Tries to disappear back into the city. But he can't stop thinking about what just happened. About the judge. About those words. 30 seconds of truth. That night. Al Pacino's apartment. Upper West Side. He's sitting alone. Glass of wine. Thinking. Replaying the day in his mind. The phone rings. He answers. Al, it's Francis. Francis Ford Coppola. The director of The Godfather. Hey Francis. What's up? I heard you were in court today. Are you okay? What happened? Al Pacino pauses. How did you hear about that? Al, you're Al Pacino. Word gets around. So? What happened? Al Pacino tells him the whole story. The accident. The court appearance. The judge. The Godfather comments. The dismissal. The 30 seconds. Francis is quiet for a moment. Then he laughs. Actually laughs. What's funny? Al asks. Don't you see? The judge did exactly what we showed in The Godfather. He had power. Absolute power. He could have destroyed you. Made an example of you. But instead, he showed mercy. Just like Don Vito. Power is nothing without mercy. The judge understood that. Because he learned it from watching our movie. Al Pacino sits with that. It's true. The judge had all the power. But he chose compassion over punishment. You changed that judge, Al, Francis continues. Not by being famous. Not by being Al Pacino. But by being honest. By being human. That's what great art does. It reminds people of their humanity. And today, that judge remembered his. They talk for a few more minutes. Then hang up. Al Pacino sits there in the silence. And he realizes something. That courtroom moment wasn't about celebrity. It wasn't about fame. It was about connection. Human to human. Actor to judge. Truth to power, but here's what Al Pacino doesn't know yet. That moment? It didn't stay private. 3 days later. New York Times. Page 6. Small article. Headline: Judge dismisses charges against Godfather star. Al Pacino reads it over breakfast. His stomach sinks. The story's out. The article is short. Factual. Says Al Pacino appeared in court on traffic charges. Judge Harrison dismissed the case. No details about the Godfather comments. No mention of the 30 seconds conversation. Just facts. But it's enough. Because now other papers pick it up. Daily News. New York Post. Al Pacino beats traffic rap. Michael Corleone walks free. The headlines make it sound like he got special treatment. Like celebrity privilege. Exactly what the judge asked him about. Exactly what Al Pacino didn't want. His publicist calls. Al, we need to do damage control. Let me set up some interviews. You can explain what really happened. No, Al Pacino says firmly. No interviews. I'm not going to exploit what happened in that courtroom. The judge showed me mercy. I'm not going to turn it into a publicity stunt. But people think you got off because you're famous. Let them think what they want. I know the truth. The judge knows the truth. That's what matters. He hangs up. Refuses all interview requests. Refuses to comment. The story fades after a few days. Other news takes over. Life moves on. But Al Pacino never forgets. Years pass. 1985, 10 years later. Al Pacino is at a charity event in Manhattan. Benefit for legal aid programs. Helping people who can't afford lawyers. He's giving a speech. Talking about justice. About fairness. About how the legal system should work for everyone, not just the wealthy. And in the audience? Judge Harrison. Retired now. But still attending events. Still passionate about justice. After the speech, Judge Harrison approaches Al Pacino. Mr. Pacino. It's been a long time. Al Pacino turns. Recognizes him immediately. Judge Harrison. I didn't know you were here. I wouldn't miss it. Your speech was excellent. You've become quite the advocate for justice. I learned from the best, Al Pacino says. Genuine respect in his voice. Judge Harrison smiles. Can we talk? Privately? They find a quiet corner. Away from the crowd. I need to tell you something, Judge Harrison begins. Something I've wanted to say for 10 years. About that day in my courtroom. You don't have to. Please. Let me say this. The judge takes a breath. When you walked into my courtroom that day, I was angry. So angry. Do you know why? Al Pacino shakes his head. Because I was sick of celebrities getting away with everything. Sick of watching famous people waltz into court, hire expensive lawyers, and escape consequences. I saw your name on the docket and I thought, here we go again. Another entitled actor who thinks rules don't apply to him. Al Pacino listens quietly. I was ready to make an example of you, Judge Harrison continues. I was going to throw the book at you. Maximum fines. Suspended license. Everything. Because I wanted to send a message that fame doesn't mean immunity. So what changed? Al Pacino asks. Judge Harrison looks him in the eyes. You did. When I asked if you thought you deserved special treatment, you said no. And I believed you. Not because of your words. But because of your eyes. I've been a judge long enough to know when someone's lying. And you weren't. You genuinely didn't think you were above the law. You were just a man who made a mistake. And that's when I decided to dismiss the case. He pauses. Emotional now. But here's what I never told you. The real reason I dismissed it wasn't just because you were honest. It was because The Godfather taught me something I'd forgotten. What did it teach you? That mercy is more powerful than punishment. I'd become so hardened over the years. So focused on enforcing the law that I forgot about justice. About compassion. About giving people second chances. And then I watched your films. I watched Michael Corleone struggle with power and morality. I watched Don Vito choose mercy when he could have chosen vengeance. And it reminded me why I became a judge in the first place. Not to punish people. But to help them find justice. Judge Harrison's voice cracked slightly. So when you stood in front of me that day, I saw an opportunity. To practice what your film preached. To show mercy. To give a second chance. Not because you were famous. But because it was the right thing to do. And I've never regretted it. Not for 1 second. Al Pacino is speechless. He had no idea. All these years, he thought the judge dismissed the case because of honesty. But it was deeper than that. It was about art changing someone's perspective. About stories shaping values. About The Godfather actually making someone a better person. Thank you for telling me that, Al Pacino finally says. You have no idea what it means to hear that our film had that kind of impact. Oh, it did. It really did. Judge Harrison smiles. You know, after that day, I changed how I ran my courtroom. I started looking at defendants differently. Not just as criminals. But as people. People who made mistakes. People who deserved a chance to explain. To be heard. To be treated with dignity. And you know what happened? What? My courtroom became more just. Not softer. Not weaker. More just. Because justice isn't about punishment alone. It's about understanding. Context. Humanity. Your film taught me that. And you reinforced it by how you carried yourself that day. Al Pacino feels tears forming. He blinks them back. I spent my whole career trying to tell truthful stories, Al Pacino says quietly. Trying to show the complexity of human nature. The good and the bad. The moral struggles. And to hear that it actually changed someone. Changed how they live their life. That's everything. That's why I became an actor. Judge Harrison extends his hand. Thank you, Mr. Pacino. For your art. For your integrity. For reminding me what justice really means. They shake hands. A moment of profound connection. Artist and judge. Two men who both seek truth in their own ways. Al Pacino leaves the event that night with a full heart. He thinks about that day in court. About 30 seconds of truth. About mercy. About second chances. And he realizes something powerful. Sometimes the roles we play don't just entertain people. They teach them. They change them. They make them better. The Godfather wasn't just a movie. It was a lesson in power, morality, family, and justice. And Judge Harrison learned that lesson. Applied it to real life. Used it to become a better judge. A better person. That's the power of storytelling. That's the responsibility of artists. To not just reflect the world, but to shape it. 2005. 30 years after the court case. Al Pacino is doing a rare interview. Promoting a new film. The interviewer asks him about his career. His legacy. What he's most proud of. Al Pacino thinks for a moment. Then tells the story. The court case. The judge. The Godfather. The dismissal. The 30 seconds. And the conversation 10 years later. That judge taught me something crucial, Al Pacino says to the camera. He taught me that art matters. That the stories we tell don't just disappear into the void. They land. They affect people. They change perspectives. They shape values. And as artists, we have a responsibility to tell stories that make the world better, not worse. The interviewer leans forward. Do you still think about that day? Every time I choose a role, Al Pacino admits. I ask myself, what is this story teaching? What values is it promoting? What will people learn from this character? Because I know now that people are watching. They are learning. And if I'm going to have that kind of influence, I better make damn sure it's a good influence. He pauses. Reflects. Judge Harrison gave me more than a dismissal that day. He gave me a purpose. He showed me that my work matters beyond entertainment. It matters in courtrooms. In living rooms. In people's lives. And I've carried that responsibility ever since. 2015, Judge Harrison passes away. Age 88. Al Pacino attends the funeral. Quietly. No press. No cameras. Just respect. At the reception, Judge Harrison's daughter approaches him. Mr. Pacino, my father talked about you until his final days. About that moment in court. About how you changed his perspective. About how The Godfather made him a better judge. She hands him something. An envelope. He wrote this before he died. Asked me to give it to you if you ever came to his funeral. He said he had a feeling you would. Al Pacino opens the envelope. Inside, a handwritten letter. Dear Al. If you're reading this, I'm gone. But I wanted you to know something before I left. That day in court in 1975? Those 30 seconds? They defined the rest of my career. The rest of my life. I became known as the merciful judge. The judge who gave second chances. Who saw people as humans, not just case numbers. And it all started with you. With your honesty. With your humility. With the lessons your film taught me. I dismissed thousands of cases after yours. Gave thousands of people second chances. Changed thousands of lives. And it all traces back to one moment. One decision. One choice to show mercy instead of punishment. Thank you for that. Thank you for The Godfather. Thank you for being honest that day. Thank you for being an artist who understands that stories matter. You didn't just entertain me. You changed me. And through me, you changed thousands of others. That's your real legacy, Al. Not the Oscars. Not the fame. But the change you created in the world. Rest easy knowing you made a difference. With eternal gratitude, Judge Robert Harrison. Al Pacino reads the letter 3 times. Tears streaming down his face. He folds it carefully. Puts it in his jacket pocket. Right over his heart. And he makes a promise. To Judge Harrison. To himself. To his art. To never forget that stories have power. That 30 seconds of truth can change a life. That mercy is stronger than punishment. And that artists have a responsibility to make the world better, not just entertain it. The actor, the judge, the Godfather, and 30 seconds that rippled through decades. This isn't just a story about a dismissed court case. It's a story about the power of art, the responsibility of storytelling, and the profound impact one truthful moment can have on the world. Al Pacino didn't just walk out of that courtroom in 1975. He walked out with a purpose, a mission, a legacy. To tell stories that change people, not just entertain them. And he's been doing it ever since.